Hey guys, it's your humble host, or Kayla if you prefer. So, I haven't slept all night. I was browsing Twitter. Came across this. This video is going to be a little controversial to say the least. Due to the content, it is also not going to be monetized. So, where is the line in the sand? Where is the boundary that says do not cross? More like the wall, because I think I just found it, and I'm sure many of you guys will agree with me. I usually don't cover politics or news from Canada. I obviously don't live in the country, and a lot of stuff that comes out from Canada is very irritating to read about. Anyway, we're going to read this article and we're going to touch upon it because there's some other bullshit going on. This comes from the Star Vancouver. Vancouver Rape Relief spokeswoman says trans inclusion decision is undemocratic and dangerous. So, let's read. Vancouver Rape Relief and Women's Shelter says it would sooner turn down important funding from the City of Vancouver than change its policies, which currently exclude trans people from many of its services, which I applaud them because, as we've talked about here on this channel, there's a difference between transgender and transsexual. Transgender is when you identify as anything underneath the sun. At this point, I'm so fed up with this garbage. Non-binary, gender fluid, whatever, pineapple, helicopter, I don't care. Transsexual is when you fully transition and you get the operation and you are complete. That is the difference. Let's continue on. City Hall heard a number of heated presentations Wednesday night during which trans people spoke against the organization receiving renewed funding from the city. Councillor Sarah Kirby-Young made a proposal which passed on Thursday that will compel the anti-violence support group to open up all of its services to include trans people or not get funding from the city. If that was my organization, I'd be giving you, because it's not about gender identity politics, it's not about inclusion, it's about tending to women, actual biological women who were taken advantage of, overpowered, mistreated in a very horrible, violent, and sexual way. Right? It's not about your identity politics, it's not about what the frick you identify as. If you are a guy, biological male, you have no freaking business in that shelter. I don't give a damn. Let's move. But Vancouver Rape Relief won't budge. Kudos for them. And I will have all of their links in the description. Rape Relief is strong enough and principled enough and has enough supporters in the community. We will say no to that kind of money. And I agree. Because I'd be giving the finger to, and then at that point, I'd be relying on the community. And hopefully the community around that area, around Vancouver Rape Relief, is as strong as she says it is. I really hope so, because you know what? That is some bullshit. Because like I said, it is about the victims. It's about the women who got taken advantage of. That is a women's shelter, not, oh, I identify as this shelter. Anyway, said Vancouver Rape Relief spokeswoman Hila Kerner reached by phone before the motion was passed. I think the demand is undemocratic and very dangerous bullying on behalf of counselors. It says, if you want the money, change how you operate, change your political principles, change your basis of unity. The organization has been receiving public funding from the city for more than 10 years, Kerner noted. Kirby-Young made the proposal, which came in the form of an amendment to an existing motion on grants because she wants trans people to feel welcome and included. But you know what? Instead of actually taking the time and money to open up a shelter for trans people, and I'm not talking about transsexuals because you're not using the term transsexuals. And as we're going to read in this article in here just a minute, it is people who identify. It is not actual people who have gone through the transition. Even then, no. And that's no offense to any of my followers who are pre-op, post-op, but even you guys understand this. When you're dealing with sexual abuse victims, all that other shit goes out the window. I am personally concerned that they're limiting their services to focus on women who are born biologically women at birth and not wanting to provide, get this, a full suite of services to trans women or other people who identify as women, she said. So, because we don't care about the rape victims anymore, we're all about inclusivity and, oh, well, these men who want to be women or identify as women aren't allowed in there, so let's make these rape victims suffer financially. Yeah, no. Again, where is the line drawn? Because for me, this was drawn a long time ago. I've always said it on this channel. I don't agree with the recommended outcome for the struggle of gender dysphoria, but there's a lot of transgenders. There's a lot of people who do it to make themselves feel special and just try to get attention. And I'm not talking about those people who legitimately struggle with feeling like they're in the wrong body. Those people I'm not into. Those people who feel like they are garbage because of the body they're in. I'm not talking to those people. But there is a point that needs to be made. There's a line that clearly needs to be drawn or re-emphasized because this is total and utter crap. You are now screwing with rape victims, legitimate rape victims, women who have been traumatized. And by the way, let me point this out too. I don't care what surgeries you've gone through, and listen to me now before you scream at me, before you screech, is that sort of trauma affects women differently from men. There are studies on it. There is different counseling for biological men and biological women. And dare I say myself, there are trans people who have become transsexual because they went through that trauma either later on in life or because they were a kid when it happened. That does come from it. So that is also a connection too. So to go out of your way to screw with trauma victims just for inclusivity, I'm gonna bite my tongue. The new rule says the city will give money to the organization for 2019, but it is considered termination funding until the organization changes its policies. The city will look to give that money in future years to organizations that offer similar services and are trans exclusive. Again, line drawn. You have done crossed the line. The city has equality policies that seek to be inclusive of trans people in its services. Kirby Young says she recognizes the importance of Vancouver's rape relief services and said she hopes the organization agrees to change its ways. No, I am so glad that the organizer, until I'm tired, the founder, the organizer has given you the finger. And wow, I am tired, but I cannot sleep. According to a BC law passed in 2016 and a federal law passed in 2017, it is a violation of someone's human right to discriminate against them based on their gender identity or gender expression. No, it's called having fucking boundaries, which the country of Canada has lost all regards for. Like, seriously, I hate reading shit that comes out about them because, oh my gosh, I want to pull my freaking hair out. The laws seek to protect people who are transgender or non-binary, which, okay, like I said, and as we've talked about on my channel, is there's a difference between transgender and transsexual. And one of the people that are constantly talking about this is Trananime. Sorry, again, I'm tired. Who even she states, yes, that transsexuals go through the full operation, don't just identify, they don't play with it. Again, it's not a recommended outcome, I agree with. But at the same time, if you're going to go, and I'm going to be very careful what I'm saying, if you feel like you are the opposite sex, commit. And I understand people have limited access. Am I encouraging this surgery? No, I don't believe in it, but at the same time, I'll know what I'm saying. And the non-binary stuff, that is just people confused. So they want to confuse individuals, confuse men in with these women, biological women who have been traumatized. So, which means that they do not identify as a man or a woman, but from being excluded from services or other aspects of society. I have a lot of heart for people first and foremost, and I think that's when anybody is in a traumatic situation and has been assaulted like that to then experience any further alienation from a lack of access to services is heartbreaking. There should be services for both men and women, biological men and biological women, because you know what? Sexual abuse does affect both genders, both sexes differently. There's only two. So for you guys to even try to fuck around with that, to try to even play with that, is disgusting. You guys need help. Uh, Counselor Jane Swanson supported the motion. We have a policy that's very clear around trans equality, which again, when it comes to sexual abuse and shelters and actually helping the victims, that crap shouldn't even come through the damn door. That shouldn't even matter. Because once again, you should be properly prepared for both men and women. Non-binary is not a thing. It is confusion. I'm sorry. She said during discussion of the motion on Thursday afternoon, council should be serious in implementing that. She added, funding from government ought to be in the highest level of ethics. I think that's what people expect of us. Kern explained the organization specifically serves people who are born with female sex organs. Women, and I'm not going to use that term, you can go get bent. It is not geared to those who transition their gender or sex to become women, trans women. We're going to use the term transsexual women because that is fully transitioned, because you've already discredited yourself with this word by putting in identify a non-binary. Now, what I will say this, because I've already made the argument of biological women belong in women's shelters, biological men belong in men's shelters. That I will stand wholeheartedly by. However, I will say this is for those who have fully transitioned, because we talked about it on my channel, What Trend I May, maybe a different sector in the women's shelter for actual transsexual women. See, even for me, and I'm gonna be straight, I don't even feel comfortable saying that or even playing with that idea because I am a trauma victim. I've never been through the shelters. Granted, it happened to me when I was a little kid, very, very little. And so to even try to play with this stuff, try to bring something that twisted, try to play with it, oh, everything must be diverse and inclusivity. No, this is one thing you do not play with. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you identify as. I don't care how many surgeries you've had. At this point, you are playing with something that's going to damage more people. You're going to traumatize the victims even further because now you're threatening to close off resources. And again, if you really want to solve this problem, you need to set up shelters for trans people, people who are confused. Okay? Because this is Gerbo, and maybe I could have done this a little bit better, but as I said, I'm tired, and waking up to this or finding this just like, okay, I need to get out of bed now. But let's continue on. Most of our services are based on that principle, our consciousness raising work, our support group, our peer counseling work. That means that some of our services are not available to people who are not born female because rape has a different effect on women than it does men. That is facts. That part of biology plays into that as well. I don't screech. I don't care. You do not play with this shit. And the fact that even these people are going out of the way to do that because, oh my gosh, someone who identifies, someone who's confused isn't allowed in a biological female space that nurses women who have been traumatized. However, the organization says it will provide support to anyone who calls its rape crisis line, regardless of their gender, which I don't see any problem with it. If you're raped and you call in, they will work to get your resources and help. That does not mean that they're able to provide the resources themselves, but they will get resources for you, from what I take from that line. Morgan, or chair of the Trans Alliance Society, spoke at City Hall on Wednesday and later told the Star she would like Vancouver Rape Relief to change its ways to become inclusive of trans people and is disappointed that so far has refused. And I hope to God it continues. because like I said, about my organization, and you came in saying, oh, well, you have to include biological males in here, or men who are confused in here, along with your women, rape victims, I'd tell you to go get fucked. Take your money, fly, because no. But anyway, tell me your thoughts below. I take it I'm gonna lose a few subs. I don't care. I have nothing against transsexual people. I have nothing against people who struggle with that part of them. I feel for you, I really do. But you know what? There's a line in the sand that needs to be drawn. There are boundaries that are not to be crossed. And as we've seen from past incidents, hashtag not all, when you have men who identify as women in prison and they're suddenly having sex with all the women in jail, that happened. Or you have people who take advantage, because it has happened, people who went in identifying as women to bathrooms and either snap pictures. And I'm not saying, again, hashtag not all, but this is going to open the door for predators. This is going to open the door for women's past abusers. I'm not okay with this. That's another point too that these fuck sticks don't seem to realize. It's going to open the door because you can't keep track of all these abusers. As a lot of women either don't identify because they're scared and they go into hiding, they don't want to be found, poked at, anything like that, or possibly their parent who did it to them, uncle, mother. They don't want, sometimes they don't want their predators to be known because they don't want them poked at, pursued, because they don't want their predator to come after them again. So this is also going to open the door for that. Again, this is Canada, which has lost all foundation. I keep seeing more and more of this crap. And once again, I'm for liberty, love, and life, pursuant of all. But when you start to cross boundaries like this, I don't give a shit anymore. Again, that's nothing to my viewers who struggle with that part of themselves, who are pre-op, post-op, in between operations, transition. Was not my intention to offend, but this is not okay. This is bull. And as I said, the Vancouver Rape Relief, I'm gonna try to get all their links in the description for you guys to check out. And I really hope they have a crowd fundraiser or something. Wow, this.